Welcome to the Music Journal podcast, where we talk about the hottest things happening in music right now, and also how you can apply it if you're an aspiring producer or musician yourself. I'm your host, Wes Yee. I'm a producer, artist, and educator, and I'm stoked to be chatting with you. Let's make history. All right, welcome to another episode of the Music Journal podcast. Today we have Chris Jew, aka Kato, on the track. And if you don't know who he is, he's one of the most active producers out there right now. He's worked with Jarren Benton, Hopsin, B.O.B, Joyner Lucas, and the list kind of just keeps going on forever. He's the founder of the Beat Club mentorship program, which he's recently partnered with the Music Entrepreneur Club. And he's also the genius behind the No Sucka MCs contest, which is currently still going on, I believe. And it's where people like Token went viral and kind of got their big break. I'm super stoked to have Kato on the show. His alias comes from a Bruce Lee movie, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of a weird coincidence because I have a Bruce Lee tattoo. And I also did a school project on him in third grade, but that's kind of beside the point. I'm digressing a little bit. Kato, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Wes? Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I guess, kind of my description of you in a couple sentences. If you want to fill in some of the blanks, let everybody know in your own words. That'd be tight.
Man, that was the perfect intro, actually. Yeah, I mean, I've been producing music for a lot of different artists for the past 10 years. I was formerly signed to independent label Funk Volume with Hopsin, Jarren Benton, Dizzy Wright, Swizz, DJ Hoppa. So I was doing in-house production over there for a couple years, and then once that situation ended, then I just kind of had to figure out my own thing to do, figure out my own path. And so that's when I started Beat Club and started producing for a lot of artists, continue my No Sucka MCs contest, and everything just kind of fell into place after that.
One thing that I really admire about you and kind of respect a lot is the fact that you really recognize that being an artist and being a band is being an entrepreneur. It's something that I read a lot about on your websites and hear you talk about a lot. And I agree a lot. I want to know this, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners also want to know this, but if we could kind of go back farther down your timeline a little bit before you were the entrepreneur that you are today, how did you even get into music, let alone hip hop?
I grew up playing instruments. I was a band kid in high school, and my dad enrolled in,
what did you play?
Percussion.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. So my dad enrolled me in drum lessons when I was a kid, and that kind of led to me having this interest in music. And I just kind of picked up different instruments along the way, started playing guitar and self-taught myself how to play guitar. And then in college, I kind of I got my hands on a pirated version of FL Studio and just started messing around with that. And that's when it kind of started. And I was also living in Philly at the time. So I think that whole scene, the hip hop scene there, really influenced me and helped me kind of mold my sound. So all my early beats just sounded like someone else. They sounded like a lot of East Coast influence, like Jay Dilla. They sounded like DJ Premier, and Dr. Dre was a huge influence of mine. So all my beats sounded like those guys. And it wasn't until later that I kind of crafted my own sound. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, for sure. Were you listening to a lot of hip hop before college and kind of before you got into making it too?
I listened to a lot of different genres of music as a kid. I remember in high school, I was listening to a lot of rock, like a lot of Deftones. I went through like my emo punk phase.
Didn't we all?
That whole like music scene was
like Fall Out Boy and shit.
Fall Out Boy, yeah. Blink-182, Green Day. Do you mind
if I ask how old you are?
I'm 31 now.
Okay, cool.
So, all of that was popping when I was in high school. And, along the way, I just like started listening to different types of music, and hip hop kind of came into my life a little bit later. But around the time, like, Lil Jon and you know, the whole like down south movement started happening was when I got into hip hop. And but I was also heavily influenced by a lot of East Coast hip hop too. You know, like I had mentioned, like Jay Dilla and DJ Premier and, you know, The Roots and a lot of like underground hip hop, like Jedi Mind Tricks and Immortal Technique. I was influenced by all of that. And then I moved to Atlanta, and then I got into all the down south music. So just a lot of different types of music influenced me over my career.
Definitely. I think that's really important too, just for any producer or aspiring producer. Because I also listen to a lot of different styles of music, and I kind of grew up the band kid too, and I got into the whole like jazz thing as well, and I ended up going to college for that. And then now I'm doing the whole like hip hop production thing as well. So I definitely think it's important to listen to a lot of genres, and that's going to kind of shape your sound as well, because you're going to take the influences from the music that you like and then craft something that's unique to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, I got to ask, I totally don't want to turn this into like a whole race thing, but just Asian producer to Asian producer. Did your parents support you listening to, I don't know, just whatever you were listening to in high school and then ultimately becoming a hip hop producer? I don't know if you're first generation or where you stand on that, but
I'm a second generation Korean American, and of course my parents, you know, I take that back. I feel like my parents were a lot more supportive of my endeavors, more than a lot of other Asian parents, a lot of other first generation. And I'm extremely lucky for that. Not to say that they were exactly happy that I wanted to pursue music, but you know, like my dad enrolled me in my drum lessons as a kid. Like he was the one who kind of encouraged me to try a lot of different stuff and figure out what it was that I loved. And from that point, it was just a matter of me discovering what I love to do, you know? So I was lucky in that way, but I can't say that they were happy about me dropping out of college to pursue music. Like that was definitely a big upset, disappointment to them. So
yeah, for sure. But it all worked out in the end, right?
it all worked out. Thank God.
Definitely had your struggles. Yo, I know you just got off a tour. Do you have a crazy tour story or just any story from your career that you could share?
Crazy tour stories. Man, you know, if you've ever been on tour, every day it's like something that happens. I think it just depends on like the people that you're with. You know, we tend to go out with, you know, I'm with rappers, so they like to party and have a good time, and there's just a lot of that. You know,
we want to know specifics though. At least I do.
Let me try to think. I remember, I know that one time Jarren went out on the road, and I don't even think I was on this tour, but he told me about this tour story afterwards. He was on the road, and one of a song that I produced for him, probably our biggest song to date, is called Schizo. And most of our fans like know that song word for word. And so he does this thing during the show where he brings on a fan to rap Schizo with him on stage.
Yeah.
And so he brought this chick on stage one time, and there's a line in the song that says, "Spend $100,000 on a one-legged prostitute." And this chick actually had only one real leg. Like one leg was a prosthetic leg.
God.
So during the show, she took off her prosthetic leg during that line and like held it up for the crowd, and people were cheering and going crazy. So that was kind of a weird, interesting moment, I'm sure.
That is fucking wild. I hope she doesn't become a prostitute. That would be not a good path for her, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so weird how all those stars kind of aligned, and then the only chick in the audience ended up being the one who gets called up to do that. Well, yo, power to her though. Props. That's fucking tight. Um, I was gonna ask, man, because you talk about entrepreneurship a lot. When, first of all, I guess when did you kind of make the switch to becoming an entrepreneur from, I guess, being what I would call a hobbyist?
Right.
Because I think that's how it typically starts. Correct me if I'm wrong for you, but a lot of people start by just making music for fun, and they realize it's something they really like to do. But then, kind of taking that extra step to becoming a business person,
Hmm.
I think is a whole nother hurdle that I think a lot of people are kind of afraid to do. So I know
Yeah.
people who will make excuses to not do it, and they just stay a hobbyist forever. So
Right.
I guess what for you was the defining moment where you took the leap to finally do that and pursue it?
I think that that journey unknowingly started for me when I joined Funk Volume,
Mm,
because that opportunity really allowed me to see firsthand what it takes to run a successful independent label.
right.
We're talking a multi-million-dollar company, you know, with staff and with with merchandising and selling a lot of music and full scale like tours, you know, sold out tours.
Right.
So I think I was just at that time when I first joined Funk Volume, I was still in the mindset of an artist. Like I just want to make the best music possible. I wasn't really thinking about how to leverage that opportunity and become a true entrepreneur. But I did, you know, subconsciously kind of soak up um, a lot of the learning opportunities that came with that. You know, we would do conference calls every single week. I mean, it was well organized and well structured,
Mm,
and that really allowed me to learn and then apply all of that stuff to my own career after the Funk Volume situation. So after Funk Volume was over, um, I was struggling. You know, I was still broke at the time, and I was just trying to figure out what to do after that. So
mm,
I took a lot of those same principles and same lessons that I learned on Funk Volume, and I was like, I gotta make this work for myself now. You know, so I started applying all those lessons that I learned, and it was a slow process, man. It was just a process of trial and error
right.
and figuring out what worked for me, and
Yeah.
utilizing my relationships and just everything that I've all this knowledge that I compounded over the years. I took that and just applied it to my own career, and you know, within a matter of a year, my whole situation started to turn around. So
Mm.
that was really the start.
It's funny, man. I feel like you definitely learned more from doing that than you did in the college that you dropped out of. Correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't
Yeah,
there, but dude, that's amazing. I think a lot of people also don't realize that it's you got to play the long game. It's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So
100%. And I think that's something that a lot of, you know, I talk to a lot of young artists and producers that are coming up today, and I think that is the common thread between a lot of them, is that they have this idea that this shit happens overnight or even within a period of like a year or two, which is nothing. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And it took me a good 6 to 7 years to get to where I wanted to be
mm,
comfortably. Um, and then it took me another couple of years to really monetize the different revenue streams that I had,
mm.
and be able to really feel comfortable calling myself an entrepreneur, you know?
Right, right. And
Um,
that sounds daunting too. Like 7 years sounds like a long time.
yeah.
But I'm 24 and I think about this all the time. The first 12 years of my life went by so much slower than the 12 after that.
Yeah.
So, and then once you're there, you're just there. You don't think about how long it took. It's actually kind of cool if it takes a long time because you kind of get that story and you can kind of talk about the journey. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. And you got to enjoy the process, man. At the end of the day, if you don't love what you do, then it's going to be a really, really tough journey for you. So it's going to be hard regardless. But if you love what you do, then you can enjoy it at the same time, you know, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this long, painful process of struggling. You know, there are hurdles and challenges along the way, but you got to love what you do.
Absolutely. Yo, I gotta ask, man, that whole funk volume drama was really big X number of years ago when it happened, but I've only heard, I think I've only heard Hopsin's take on it and only in interviews. Can I ask what it was like from your perspective?
So when that whole situation went down, um, you know, I learned about things as they happened, just like everyone else did. You know, I started seeing the social media posts, and I had a little bit more insight because, you know, I obviously know those guys, and I knew that there were things going on behind the scenes. Um, but I didn't know that it would come to that climatic end. You know, I found out about Hopsin's frustrations and how deep they were, just like everyone else did
Mm.
on Instagram. You know, um, so when it did fall apart, the aftermath was just like, what the fuck? I was just like, I was stunned.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
looked like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I didn't know that it would come to an end like that quickly. Um, so you know, it was unfortunate, but I still rock with all of them. You know,
Yeah,
I'm still cool with everyone.
definitely. And you're working with Dame now, so
Yeah, and Dame's my partner now, which is even crazier to think about. Um,
speaking of that, by the way, do you want to talk about your new mentorship program a little bit?
yeah, so when the whole funk volume situation ended, like I said, I was just trying to figure out, you know, different things that I could do, what path that I would, you know, what trajectory my career would head down. And one of the ideas I came up with at that time was to start, actually my first idea was to start a mentorship program, because I felt like up to that point I had had a lot of experience and I knew a lot of people in the industry that I could talk to and get advice from. So um, I started Beat Club, which was my own mentorship program. It was a monthly subscription. I think I started by charging everyone like $20 a month, and you could join, and I do live streams and answer questions and bring on special guests and just give advice about the music industry and being an entrepreneur. And it kind of took off. You know, I put the idea out there. There wasn't really anything out there like that. So I started promoting it, and I got like 100 members within the first month of
Damn,
doing it.
no shit.
Yeah, and that's when I kind of knew like I was onto something. And so B Club went well for like a year and a half. And eventually I saw that Dame had started his own mentorship program called Music Entrepreneur Club.
Yeah, no way.
And he had actually called me, and he was asking me, you know, just how I was running Beat Club. And he was about to launch his own mentorship program for artists. And so, you know, the idea came to me like, why don't we partner on this?
Oh wow. Oh, that's
And
perfect. 'Cause then you get the artists and the producers.
exactly. It was the perfect situation, and it just made sense to me. So I approached Dame, and he was on board 100%. So then,
Sick.
you know, we merged our two clubs and then figured out the logistics. And then we brought on DJ Payne One, who's a big advocate and producer in the producer community. So it's the three of us now, and we just relaunched our brand new Music Entrepreneur Club platform, and we spent a lot of time, energy, and money into rebuilding the membership dashboard. So it's super, super easy. It's mobile friendly. And there's a lot of cool features to it too. So um, yeah, it's awesome.
Hell yeah, dude. Congrats. That sounds like the fucking dream team right there.
Thank you, man.
I wanna ask you, man, what would you recommend to an artist or a producer that doesn't really have that entrepreneur mindset or even the drive, but they still really want to do it would you recommend like outsourcing different things? Because there's people who specialize in like advertising and branding and different shit like that. What would you recommend to somebody who doesn't really care to do it for themselves?
I think if you don't care to do it for yourself, you at least have to have an understanding of it. You have to understand how the different aspects of the music business works, so you can at least figure out whether you need to delegate that task to someone else or if you can do it yourself. Because, I mean, let's be honest, in the beginning, like most music artists and producers don't have the luxury of hiring some PR firm or hiring
facts,
staff to bring onto your team. So the reality is that most people are going to have to do it for themselves in the beginning. If you're successful enough with that, then you can get to the point where you can outsource and hire people. But, for the most part, like I still do almost everything myself, with the exception of having Dame and DJ Pain One as partners. I still answer all my own emails. I still, if there's ever a question that I have, I'll ask, the people around me or people that I know, or I'll just jump on Google and figure it out. You know what I mean? So you have to be incredibly resourceful is what I've learned. You have to be resourceful as a new artist, to make it, and so I think the big thing is if that's not your strong suit, which it wasn't for me, then you have to surround yourself with people who understand it. You have to put the dames around you. You have to put I'm good friends with Abe, the CEO of BeatStars, and he's an intelligent dude who knows business, and I talk to him regularly and ask him for advice. So it's just putting the right people around you or being resourceful enough to figure it out for yourself.
Totally. I agree with that 100%. What do they say? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around most, or something 100%. Like that.
Yep.
I've also found, because I also do all my own branding and emails and advertising and all that stuff. And I also didn't want to do it in the beginning, but I kind of found that once I started and kind of got my feet wet a little bit with it, I actually found that they were really useful skills, and I kind of apply theories to them to different things. So to kind of piggyback off of that, I would recommend, if you're not into that kind of thing, maybe just start to do it anyways, because you might find that you do actually enjoy it. It's like listening to like an artist that you don't like. Like sometimes I'll listen to an album from an artist I don't like and then find a song that I do like.
Right.
So you never know, man. You got to experiment. What's something that people wouldn't guess just by looking at you, do you think?
Oh, man.
Like first impression. Like I see Kato walking across the street.
I think because I'm in music and I work with a lot of the artists that I work with, I think people automatically assume that, I'm out partying every weekend, or I'm out like just, like out with homies every day, like doing shit. But for the most part, man, I'm usually at home, like by myself. I don't really go out. I don't really, I don't go out to like parties. I don't go out to shows anymore. For the most part, I'm just at home, either working on beats or checking emails or, working on the business side. So I don't really have a lot of time to do anything else. And I'm a quiet person, man. I need my own like quiet space and quiet time to be in my head and to think about stuff. So that's the type of person I am.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. You're like an introvert?
I'm 100% an introvert. I don't know how I ended up in the music industry, but I'm a huge introvert.
You ever take that Myers-Briggs personality test?
I have, yeah.
What'd you get?
I forget. It was a long time ago, but it did tell me that, to no surprise, that I'm an introvert.
Yeah, there's like introvert, what's the next? I only know mine, so I'm like ENTP, which is
Yeah.
like extrovert, intuitive, which is like you think outside the box. I think I have a sister who's really into it, so she knows like what all the letters mean. So now I kind of know what some of the letters mean. So I
Yes.
would think that you would be like an N. Um, do you think you make decisions more based off of logic or how you're feeling?
Definitely logic.
Okay, so you'd be like a T, not to like totally dissect you psychologically right now in front of everybody. And then I don't even remember what the last one's like type A or type B.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
picture you as like kind of type B,
Yeah, probably.
go with the flow, Taoism and shit.
Yeah. That's definitely me. So,
Sick.
you know.
I have one question that I ask on every single episode. I really like the answers that I get. I'm curious what yours is. If you had unlimited money, no strings attached, what would you do and why?
God, that's a good question. I know this sounds really shallow, but the first thing I would do is buy myself a really nice car, like an exotic car. Probably
Hey,
like,
you earned it.
yeah. Well, it's just always been my dream as a kid. I remember like when I become successful, I was really into cars as a kid. So the first thing I would do is buy myself like a Ferrari or something like that. And then, I already have a house. So we would, probably like pimp out the crib or do some shit like that.
Hey,
And then, I don't know what else I would do. Give some money to my family.
mm-hmm.
I think I would just, take care of the people around me, and the rest I would just probably invest or travel with, travel and see the world.
Yeah, dope. I love it. If you want to let all the listeners know where they can find you, maybe talk about your beat store and stuff like that, feel free to drop that right now.
So my website and beat store is on nastytrax.com, www.nastytrax.com. And I'm on social media at Kato Producer, Kato Producer, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. So hit me up.
All right, there it is. Now you know where to find Kato. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Music Journal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want to know more about me and what I do, I just put out a personal EP on Spotify. You can go to bit.ly/Wes Yee Spotify. And if you want to know more about music production, I teach an online course about it too. Just shoot an email to wes@homestudiohits.com and I'll send you an application. Just for filling out the application, I'll send you a free sample pack of sounds I use to make the instrumental you're listening to and more. All these links will be available in the show notes, so you can check them out there. And while you're there, if you feel inclined to rate this show 5 stars, that would really help me out. Other than that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks again. Peace.